Hey, what is up, mortals? It is Trina Duhart here with a new video for you. Welcome to part 2 of the final season of What If Deku was given the Six Paths power. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So we begin. The beast known as Gigantomachia had been defeated by a Sage Mode-infused Rasengan barrage. Consciousness shattered upon impact. As the monster collapsed, the man who had defeated him placed a flying Raijin mark for future use, just in case he caused another rampage. After this, he spoke and then turned around to see if his girlfriend was all right.
Yeah, but you just stole my win, Deku!
Uraraka responded jokingly as once more she placed her equipment back onto the book bag. Sorry about that. Just wanted to ensure that you didn't get hurt, he said, turning to face Himiko Toga, giving her a merciless stare with his six-path sage mode eyes. As for you, I will allow you to walk away this time, but if I see you alongside Uraraka again, I will not hesitate to knock you out. This threat made the blonde one flinch. Not only had he taken out Machia with a single move, but he wasn't even transformed like last time. The boy she had considered the coolest that night at the burning forest camp was now a man who terrified her. Toga couldn't bring herself to answer or even speak. She was frozen in place. Perhaps she should retreat. Or maybe some of her quirks could allow for a great sneak attack. No, those wouldn't work either. Gigantomachia had been upgraded constantly by the doctor, and Toga, alongside some of the other Villainy Reforged members, weren't able to subdue him even in friendly combat after all this time. So what would she by herself be able to do against someone who took that very monster down with a kick-ass manga move? Her currently roaring stomach also didn't help in the slightest.
Leave her alone! She doesn't deserve that kind of attitude directed towards her without reason!
Ochaka yelled, protecting the shorter girl behind her. She's one of Shigaraki's friends, so I couldn't care less about the way I treat her. She's one of them, and you know that very well, he replied in quite a cold tone. At this point, the Six Paths Master wasn't going to forgive any of their actions. Aravdi was about to shout something, but Toga stopped her and walked over to the dark-clothed individual. She would make him hear a part of her mind.
Tilmer's actions are his and nobody else's! Whatever he did or will do will never be on me or on anyone back home. You can criticize me all you want, but never ever link them with someone else's ever again. You got that easy, shark Repleria?
The vampire queen threatened him in quite a loud outburst of emotion. She was still trying to process some things. Izuku, Midoriya, All Might's successor corrected. The name that your boss keeps calling me by is quite demeaning, but knowing him, he might consider it quite comedic. I'll forgive you for not knowing it just this once. It's understandable for you not to have known it. But know this, Himiko Toga, that man is responsible for many atrocities. Atrocities that were pardoned not just by the government, but also by the society I once sought to protect. So many people had their futures taken away in the blink of an eye because of his actions. What he called a little game is what others call genocide. Those memorials built upon the landmarks of decay show a clear picture of who Shigaraki is. So many heroes also lost their quirks when they went after him independently. But unlike the rest, they tried until the very end to extinguish such an evil soul. My classmates were also casualties in all of this. All those lives can never be brought back, and I will never forgive him for that. Even if the entire world can lie to itself about it, I will not be one of them. He can hide his true face behind that game studio all he wants, but I can still see the hidden one beneath. He might not consider me a threat, but it's my mission to take him out even if it kills me. For this world to be free once more, I'll do what's necessary. Toga cared little for what the guy in front of her said, and even less so when he seemed like a heartless asshole. But to some extent, his speech had affected her. It had given her little drops of knowledge to feed to the previous fact that had bothered her greatly. A clearer picture was now forming in her head.
Whatever. I'll just go eat some ramen then,
the blood lover let him know as she walked away, flipping him off. Himiko waved her new friend goodbye and then disappeared into the darkness behind them. She would be coming back for Gigantomachia later once she had her feast.
You went too far again, Izuku,
the now remaining girl said as she approached him. And you want me to apologize?
We're talking about Toga!
She loudly interrupted as she was now ready to begin her onslaught.
So leave all your Shigaraki pent-up bullshit somewhere else. She has done nothing to either of us. If anything, she should be the one pissed off at me for getting her reminded. So either keep it to yourself or go shout it at him directly. The girl doesn't have to hear it and even less pay for it. Is it that you don't see that you're going too far? I understand your hate as I feel the same, but it's just towards him, no one else. Those that work and share their lives with him are also people, and you should know that better than anyone.
Even then, I can't forgive any of them. Midoriya let out before teleporting away, leaving Uraraka by herself in the now half-destroyed street. The gravity-defying girl just stood there for a while and thought, were those sharp words of hers justified toward him? She decided just to let it be and walked off to her apartment. Maybe a nice hot bath would help clear her mind. Meanwhile, as this occurred, the famous little mangaka feasted, and once done, she returned to Makia and captured him in a marble from Mr. Compress's replicated quirk. With the little science spear in her hand, she now knew what she needed to do. She wasn't going to stay quiet about it. A good chunk of time passed until she arrived back at HQ, and right up front, the big man himself was awaiting her. What took you so long? You're almost 2 hours whole past your curfew, he pointed out while looking over her to see if he could spot the colossal anywhere, but the monster was nowhere to be seen. Himiko tossed the marble to the side and released Gigantomaquia. He was still knocked out.
There's your pet,
She announced, giving him an ominous gaze.
and now I want you to tell me the truth about something. No excuses, cover-ups, or half-answers. Just a concrete answer is all I want, Tomura, so you better give it.
Toga then stated, extending the blade to the malicious god in front of her. I should be the one asking what happened to Maquia, but go ahead, I'll answer.
Were you responsible for Susu's death?
The little vampire shouted, demanding an immediate answer as she pointed her blade ever closer to his neck. Okay. First, who the fuck is Susu? Am I supposed to know who that is? Second, I haven't taken a life for quite some time, so if it was recently, then I can guarantee you that it wasn't my doing. Tomura answered while moving the tip of the girl's blade away. The tremendous disregard towards the late froggy girl made Himiko clench her fist. Susu had faced her way back on that night to protect Uraraka, getting beaten in the process, and with each wound that was inflicted on her, the more she was liked by her little bloodsucker. To Toga, people that are beaten up or struggling were the hottest. Having both at once in a single cutie had been heaven on earth, but now there was no hope of ever meeting her again, to lick the blood from her wounds once more. Not even the slightest chance of ever matching her by becoming a frog girl either.
She was the most adorable girl I ever got to meet!
The young one yelled, stomping her foot in rage.
A frog girl that could do whatever a frog could! Beautiful, long, dark green hair, cute as hell extending tongue, an internet celebrity, even remember? She was with the Hey Hey heroine in Ochako!
Shigaraki thought about it for a bit, knowing that what she said was familiar, but nothing was coming to mind. Every second that passed only made the curfew breaker even more pissed as she awaited an answer from her towering friend. Oh, I think I remember. It was those students became viral for stopping some villains, Tomer exclaimed as he petted the girl to reassure her that the answer should be near. With a quick jump, Toga got out of the petting hand and slapped it away. Her unyielding rage was beginning to seep through.
So, were you responsible for her death?
The atmosphere changed entirely as the laughter from All for One's successor became louder for all to hear. This very act made the poor little vampire bite her lip in frustration. She knew the answer now. Sorry about that. Just found it funny that I'm most likely responsible for the crimes you suspected. If she was at the Shie Hisaikai base, like the redhead one, then for sure she's a goner, decayed away like the rest, he answered, making it known to the now-eyed watered Himiko. The blade that was once in her hand found itself launched at the leader of villainy reforged without a second thought, being stopped with ease between his fingers.
Don't talk to me! You're the worst!
Enraged, she cried out and ran off into the studio. Seems like I'll have to make it up to her, he told himself while beginning to make his way back into the building. Now in her room, Toga began to stab her pillow to let all her emotions escape. Otherwise, she would need to kill someone to calm herself down. To her, Tomer appeared like a weird big brother that always looked out for her, but all the recent neglect combined with the news that he had indeed murdered a cutie she once liked made all those feelings muddled. Who else had he decayed on his rampage? Had her repressing parents been victims? Probably not, but this mere thought made her go on a rampage. She herself was the only one that deserved to end their lives after everything they had done. Them being extinguished by the very daughter they had deemed a demon child was irrefutable fate, even more now that she was at the top of the world. After wrecking most of the room, she collapsed and decided to go drink some blood from the storage. Perhaps this would allow her to drown her feelings away for the night. At around the same time, Uraraka had concluded her bath, and now she was drying her hair. The feelings from before still poked out in her mind. Unable to concentrate, She reached for her phone and called someone that would surely make her feel better. This video is sponsored by Adobe. Adobe is redefining the digital experience through game-changing innovations that shape the next generation of storytelling. Adobe makes it easy to create, edit, and share digital documents securely, allowing you to collaborate and communicate across devices. Adobe Photoshop is your go-to application for raster graphics editing and digital art as a whole. At We the Celestials, all our thumbnails across every channel are created with Adobe Photoshop. Adobe Premiere Pro is a timeline-based and non-linear video editing software application that is versatile and easy for beginning and master editors. Finally, Adobe After Effects is the industry standard tool for digital visual effects, motion graphics, and compositing applications used in post-production. Many of our voice actors, audio editors, and video editors use Premiere Pro and After Effects to produce these high-quality videos. Click the link in the description to start creating now. And thank you to Adobe for sponsoring this video.
What's wrong, kiddo?
Aizawa asked as he picked up the unusual late-night call.
Deku and I had a discussion.
His student responded.
That's a normal part of a relationship. It might be weird coming from him, but don't worry yourself much over it.
I'll try.
The girl let out. An awkward silence soon followed.
So, what was it about?
Eraserhead then asked, resuming the call.
Today, I accidentally met up with a member from Villainy Reforged, and he saw me with them. Upon seeing this, he lost his cool and began threatening them. I got in the way to defend the person, but this made him mad, and now I think that he might not want to talk to me anymore.
Uraraka explained, retelling the events from earlier.
I see.
He told her while looking over the sleeping Eri.
Give it time. Midoriya will get over it and apologize for his attitude. I know that he will once his head is clear.
Papa Aizawa then added while covering his daughter with her red blanket.
I hope so,
the downed girl said shortly after. Once more, she wasn't speaking, which greatly concerned her sensei.
Something else happened, right?
He questioned.
Yeah,
Uraraka replied.
If you feel the need to let it out, just let me know. I'll always be available to hear you out.
Shota reminded her like many times before.
I met Himiko Toga.
The student suddenly cried out.
The one you...
Yeah, the very same,
she confirmed as she made it to her bed.
Are you alright? Did she hurt you?
The now concerned father figure asked quite loudly, almost waking the sleeping child next to him.
No, I'm fine,
Ochaka reassured. A sigh of relief escaped the mostly retired hero.
Then what transpired?
The sleepless man then asked.
She forgave me and then gave me a hug.
In pure embarrassment, she admitted.
That's rather strange.
I just stood there not knowing what to do, and she invited me for a drink. She treated me like a friend even though I destroyed her life, and I even defended her. Something has to be wrong with me.
There's nothing wrong with you.
Aizawa quickly stated, letting her know that she was overthinking it.
You did the right thing, and for that, I'm proud of you, kiddo. Never forget that.
Upon hearing this, a tear escaped Aravity's eye. At the moment, she was a total emotional wreck, but in a way, hearing those words made her feel better about the decision she took. The conversation concluded soon after, and with a smile, she fell asleep shortly thereafter. The next day, she got ready like always, but upon exiting her apartment, she saw Deku standing right in front of her. Good morning, Uraraka, Midoriya greeted her with a cheery tone.
Hi,
she responded. The boy took a deep breath and decided that he needed to do this now if he wanted things to go back to normal. I apologize for last night. I was way out of line, and I regret the way I treated both you and Toga. Into a Dagaza form, he kneeled to ask for forgiveness.
I'll accept your apology with one condition,
Ochaka coldly answered, a complete fake front she had made not to burst out laughing at the absurdity her boyfriend had just committed. What will it be? You want a ride to school? A volcano cake, perhaps? Movie night? Fancy date? Oh, I know, stargazing! First with a bombardment of questions, and now with straight-up formulated plans, all these rained down upon the unprepared girl as the 6 paths chosen one unloaded his entire list onto her.
No, none of those!
She loudly denied, trying to hide that she wanted those things too.
You'll gain my forgiveness if you allow me to handle the Shigaraki situation. No illegal assault or non-warranted break-ins to arrest him.
With a severe dead stare, the gravity cheater stated. But, Izuku tried to say, but was immediately shut down by her.
No buts! We can't have you going all unga-bunga smash like a wild animal. We'll settle our differences with him in a more civilized manner. So leave it to me, okay?
All right. With a smile, he agreed and hugged her. I'll leave it to you. All 10 fingers touched the green-haired man, making him float, and our girl spun around with him until they descended. With a quick release, it was all done. A peck on his cheek followed right after, and a big smile adorned both of their blushing faces.
Love you.
Ochako whispered for only him to hear. Love you too, he replied right after.
Now that we have that settled, would you walk me to school today?
The crimson-faced teen then asked, offering her hand. Of course, if that's what you wish, then so it shall be, Deku responded and grabbed her hand. The couple took their time as they made their way to Corsican Academy. They were getting closer and closer every couple of steps. Almost too close towards the end, but they were swiftly interrupted as a third Senate chair took her away at the school gate. Izuku smiled as he waved his girlfriend goodbye and teleported to his school on the other side of the city. Multiple days later, the reunion for the former Class 1A took place. They would all be graduating from their respective schools in a few short weeks, which only meant that it was now or never. Their paths would diverge. So this would be most likely their last time sharing some excellent times together. Not all students were able to attend, though, such as Bakugo, who had recently joined Japan's self-defense forces, or like Ida, who had gone to study abroad. Even with the missing members, those there began the chill meeting. The initial moments were spent in silence, mourning those of the class that had passed on before their time. Once that was behind them, the students began to tell how their lives had changed ever since their school had shut down. The now visible Hagakure took the chance to be the first one to tell her story to the very intrigued colleagues that surrounded her. It had been around a year or so prior to this meeting when Toru Hagakure had visited an event held by Villainy Reforged where they would take away unwanted quirks. The still invisible girl had gone there hoping to be allowed a normal life. Without her quirk, she would be able to show off like never before. This wasn't a choice she had taken overnight either. It had been one she had thought out for a few months. Now that she wasn't going to be a hero, her invisibility quirk was rather useless and annoying. Walking over to the line of people, she began to reconsider it, but her choice never changed even when Tomura told her that it was her turn. With a smile, she grabbed his arm and assisted him in placing it over her head for the quirk to be taken away. The white-haired guy asked her if she was sure about this, and excitedly she responded that she indeed was, and a second later, the invisibility she had been known by had left her completely. Those around her gasped upon seeing her. She was a true beauty to behold. Her short, light yellow, wavy-colored hair could be seen flowing with the wind for the first time ever. It even had pink and turquoise specks distributed throughout. Bushy, light yellow eyelashes momentarily hid her gorgeous big round eyes. But once they became visible, they shook the minds of those watching. Her pupils were quite the spectacle to behold. Their unusual nature attracted everyone's attention. They were violet on top, teal on the bottom, and yellow on the inside. Not even the blonde-fanged girl behind Shigaraki could stare away as she too joined those that couldn't look away, even flustering a little halfway through. Tears streamed down Hagakure's face. Seeing how everyone around her had accepted her looks made her quite emotional about it. Thanking the studio lead, she left the place and went to see her parents. Now they would be able to see their daughter for the first time, all grown up too. After that life-changing moment, Toru became a record-breaking model across Japan, becoming ever more popular with every photo they took of her. By now, she was set up for life, and the world was well aware that she was here to be seen. The evident happiness and confidence displayed by the girl made everyone happy for her. But Izuku couldn't shake off that this felt wrong to some extent. Regardless, he hid this with a smile and felt better for her. Momo Yaoyorozu was next, and since the last time we met her, she had decided to open up many new libraries across Japan to help those in need of knowledge. They were all free of charge, so anyone could access their vast collections to expand their horizons. That wasn't all, though. Momo had become a tutor to young kids who needed help. In the future, she would aim to become a teacher. Sitting next to her was Jiro, who had continued her musical career, and by now she was holding concerts quite frequently, so much so that tonight there would be one as well, extending an invitation to all her former classmates in case they wanted to attend. A good chunk of the class also told their stories, including Midoriya and Uraraka. However, one person still remained that had been rather silent throughout the meeting, the ice-hot man known as Shota Todoroki. Unlike everyone else, the years had definitely changed him. His expression was quite rough and serious, battle-hardened even. The half-white, half-red hair had also been allowed to grow long. He apologized for keeping it all to himself and began retelling the past. At one point, Shoto had thought that this life of his was messy, but nothing could compare to the day when his father was killed on live TV by a balloon-flame villain who was revealed to be his presumed dead brother, Toya. Ever since that broadcast, life had been a broken glass road to walk through. Not long after, his mother took her own life after killing Toya, leaving the Todorokis as orphans. Being the oldest, Fuyumi took care of her siblings. It had been hard, but she did her best while holding up all those feelings deep within. It was thanks to her that the family was still together under one household. Todoroki couldn't be more grateful to her. The sole daughter of the Todorokis had sacrificed so much, and one day he would make it up to her, he promised. Upon hearing this, the class embraced him and let him know that it would be all right and that they could also help if he wanted them to. Shosho thanked him and refused. This path was for him to take alongside his remaining family. They all feasted to their heart's content, enjoying those last moments together while they lasted. Everything eventually comes to an end. Nothing lasts forever in our lives. Those voices grew quieter until the very light of the rented cafe went off. On their merry ways, they all went. The main couple was still together, walking through the darkened streets, holding hands while it lasted. But eventually, this too would cease to be soon enough. At a certain point, they waved at the other and walked off in opposite directions. What the unsuspecting boyfriend wasn't aware of was that his girlfriend had other plans for tonight, plans that she had kept hidden from him.
Oh, Chaco!
With a big hug, the little vampire welcomed her friend into the villainy reforged building. This time, Uraraka gave one back, and as she looked forward, she got a good look at the person that made so many regular nights into terrifying nightmares. Yo, what's up, rewinded brat? In a welcoming stance, he teased his first rewinded victim.
It's about time we have a nice chat, Tomura Shigaraki. So let's get to it.
Now standing in front of him, she said, ready to make a deal with the devil himself. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. If you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials My Hero Academia and Naruto What If channels retell the story of a namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Now, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the Recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. And if you want more content from me, check out my live streams at Twitch at TrinaDoHeart, and my other social medias like YouTube and Twitter as well. Well, that's it from us for today's video, so thank you all for watching, and have a great day!